So Hasan Piker was yesterday detained by American Customs and Border Police when he attempted to re-enter the USA. He was asked questions that suspiciously resemble the exact same talking points that Ethan Klein has been using to attack him and basically every pro-Palestinian activist in the world for the better part of a year. And something that really fell under the radar here is that Ethan Klein, about a month ago, explicitly called for Hasan to be arrested and actually asked a lawyer live on his podcast what they could possibly do to get Hasan arrested for supposed terrorism. This is from the H3 podcast, episode 132, streamed live on April 7th, 2025.
Any laws that we can go after Hasan for? Are you familiar with that? Has he broken any domestic terror laws or... No, probably not domestic terror laws, but like inciting. I mean, what can we do about that?
Yeah, that's out of my realm. I usually do just civil stuff.
Sure, fair enough. Fair enough. You're useless to me, Tom.
I'm sorry.
Ethan Klein has, for months now, been attempting to blame literally everyone for inciting Child Protective Services coming to his house. You know, Child Protective Services checking on his kids. He's been framing that as if it was like a swatting. And none of the people who he's accused of that ever even remotely called for that to happen. Not that it would be such a huge thing as he's framing it if they did. Yet here he is, live on camera, directly calling for Hasan Piker to be arrested for supposed terrorism. And a month later, Hasan Piker is detained and questioned with Ethan Klein's very same talking points, treated like a terrorist. By the standard that Ethan Klein uses to blame people for, to be clear again, what is not even a bad thing, an agency dedicated to protecting children checking on his kids, he is immensely responsible for this. It's very clear that his talking points, via their spread in the far-right spheres that he is now allied with, have found their way to the Trump administration, and they are now literally being used to arrest pro-Palestine people in precisely the way that Ethan and his terrorist wife, Gila Klein, would like them to be. Ethan and Gila are massive enthusiasts of the genocide in Gaza and the mass rape by the IDF, which again, Gila was a member of. So this is not at all surprising. Just listen to what Hasan had to say about his experience here, and you can really see the similarities between what they were asking him and Ethan Klein's talking points. You can see, for example, in what they asked him about the supposed Houthi terrorist who he interviewed, which is a narrative that comes directly from Ethan Klein, and which, hilariously, the border agent seems to have been able to understand was not actually an interview with a Houthi at all, as Ethan has constantly insisted that it was. So even agents of the Donald Trump gestapo, which is literally dedicated to tracking down and deporting pro-Palestinian immigrants, are more nuanced than Ethan Klein is.
One thing that I will take note of that I thought was very interesting was the fact that a lot of the shit that like the Ethan Kleins of the world have like cried about over and over again were unironically brought up in that conversation. And I was shocked. Okay. Not like the bleach sword, obviously, but like the Houthi. Like, did you interview a Houthi? It says here that you interviewed a Houthi. And I was like, or was he actually a Houthi? And I was like, he's not. You can look to all of the reporting that came out afterwards and before I interviewed him, that he is not a Houthi, that he is a regular Yemeni citizen. And I said, like, his name is Rashid al-Haddad. He is not even a Shia. And the dude, luckily, again, Iraqi, went, oh yeah, that's right. That's a Sunni last name. Al-Haddad is a Sunni last name. So he must not have been a Houthi. And the very fact that that was like a point of contention that could have gotten me arrested is insane. And I genuinely, in that moment, was thinking like, these dumbass slop tubers are actually playing with fire. And I even thought about not even mentioning this because I was like, I don't want to give them any sort of like power over the situation. But like the reality of the matter is 100% the Trump administration is inadvertently working with a lot of these dipshits. These dipshits are playing a formative role in getting people in trouble with the law. Okay?
So my reason for making this video is to draw attention to the fact that Ethan Klein, aside from inventing these ridiculous talking points, which are now very clearly being weaponized by the Trump administration, you know, I'm not saying he literally talked to the Trump administration, but certainly in their research into pro-Palestinian activists who are on their shit list, they have been perusing slop tubers like Ethan Klein. The talking points come straight from him. And particularly I want to bring attention to the fact that he literally directly called for this to happen. He directly called for this to happen in such an explicit way before it happened. This is a guy who, again, has been blaming people for calling CPS on him or for being responsible for CPS being called on him, which again is the US State Agency of Child Protection. Their job is to check on your kids and ensure their well-being. Whereas the cops who questioned Hasan detained and questioned him for the same reasons that the Nazis would detain and question someone. These things are not even comparable. Yet Ethan Klein blamed people who never said anything remotely as explicit as he did for that CPS call, which isn't even serious, is nowhere near as big of a thing as he keeps claiming that it is, yet an actual, huge fucking horrible thing being done to someone who he has been slandering for months in the name of endorsing Israeli genocide and mass rape in Gaza. For that, we have clear evidence of him directly attempting to get this to happen to Hasan. He literally said it on his podcast. Now, Ethan Klein is already afraid to go out in public. He said this on the podcast before. This man is so hated by the general population, by normal people, because of his advocacy for the genocide in Gaza, that now he is literally afraid to do something as simple as drive to the barber and get a haircut in case he's accosted for his pro-genocide position.
Well, you need a special, but you're shaving your head. Go to Supercuts.
I don't go in public.
You could get someone to.
You could go to Supercuts right now.
We're
and be done in
loyal
10
to
minutes.
You understand about I don't go in public.
No, he's right, Dan.
And to that I say, good. You support genocide. What do you expect? And now that your open calls for the arrest of people who are against the genocide that you support have resulted in the action that you so called for, I can only say it's even more deserved than it was before.